Based Chad dad gets betrayed by his Zoomer son. Hello everyone, this is Mr. Obvious, and today on Hacker 4chan. But before we get into this, a quick word from this week's sponsor.
Zuck the cuck drinks water like a duck, but he also drinks your data. So tell him and Google to shove your data up their schwing-schwangs by downloading the Brave browser. It's free, blocks online advertising, and protects your privacy and data from evil tech companies. You only see ads if you want to see them, and you get cryptocurrency for your attention. Don't let Zuck use you to make a buck. Download Brave by clicking on the link down below.
So, here we are on Politically Incorrect, poll of 4chan. So, here on boards.4chan.org, we have the following thread by Anonymous. CNN is, and everyone is jumping on this story, to show white men if you speak up and have pride in your country, your life will be destroyed. They're talking about a man who I covered in a previous video, who asked another man who was complaining about America and complaining about the treatment his children received in school, asking him, well, why did you move to our country if America's so bad, essentially? And everybody lost their minds. It was like a movie scene. Everybody gasping at once. Kind of like programmed NPCs in a video game. Now they're calling him a bigot and a mean man for asking this guy, well then why didn't you stay in the country that you immigrated from if America's so bad? And he makes that point. He says you're complaining about it. And he's just sick of hearing people complain about it. Now I understand both sides of the argument because they both have legitimate questions and legitimate points. But here's the problem. The Hispanic man wants to complain about children bullying other children. However, they seem to miss the point where children are children, and this is how they behave. This is how it happens in most schools. Everybody makes fun of everybody. I'm sure that even if there was a minority population in the school and it was majority something else, I'm sure it's back and forth. Kids are kids. They call each other names. They bully each other. They work out a hierarchy. Bullying is not a problem of identity, and that's the issue here. Everyone wants to make all of this behavior of just children and teenagers as an identity politics issue. And many people are tired of it. So when this Chad dad activated his almonds and asked a question, which he's entitled to ask, then why didn't you stay in the country you came from? In simpler terms, everybody lost their minds. But that's not what we're going to be talking about today per se. You see, everyone is going after this man. CNN goes after this character, and they mention his name. We already know his name. It's a public name by now. It was in my story as well, a Mr. Brooke Baldwin. So Annan here makes the point that CNN is labeling this as a bigoted comment, when in reality it was just an honest question. You know, this is the problem with America, and this is why people are sick of identity politics. We can't have an honest discussion or debate or freedom of speech, because everyone's going to label everything bigoted, every little thing. It's nonsense. They name him, they probably want to ruin his life. This is what leftists do in America. If you speak out against the leftist progressive narrative, they'll destroy your life. What is wrong with them? So here Anonymous says, white Americans are weak and let everyone talk shit on America. White people have dignity and pride in this country aren't welcome. White people who have dignity and pride in this country aren't welcome. And you know what? I have to agree. I have to absolutely agree. It seems like white people are they're not allowed to have any pride or any defend themselves. It's ridiculous. Here Anonymous says, wow, the white guy who commented, then why did you come here, has his own son sold him out. His own son. CNN just posted this. F, when your own son sells you out, nothing hurts like that. America is truly lost. White men, not welcome. So this is the worst part of all this. And this is indicative of the brainwashing that's going on in these public schools. Now here, I've marked out his name just to protect his privacy. He is a minor. But this is from his son, and this is what he said. And CNN included this because, you know, CNN is no stranger to using children to further their political narrative. Here he says, Today my father asked a deliberately racist question at the Saline Area Schools Diversity and Inclusion meeting. His views of hate no way represent my own. I stand in solidarity with the refugees and immigrants of the world. Has he been feeding his son soy milk? Is this the mother's fault? This is just sad. First of all, family comes first. Your own son is selling you out, saying, oh, well, I don't agree with that. He said something. No, he didn't. What he said was not bigoted. What he said wasn't racist. It was not. Then why did you come here is a legitimate question. Because there's a phenomena where a lot of left-wingers and a lot of different groups, they'll complain about America after coming here and then whine. And we're going to see evidence of that. I'm going to show you some things. This is nonsense, but his own son sold him out. And why is he saying all this woke nonsense? Because he's being indoctrinated in that school. Diversity and inclusion is code for progressive cultural Marxism. Are we Americans or are we different people? This is the irony of diversity and inclusion. It forces everyone to be separated by their physical characteristics instead of the content of their character. QAnonymous says, what is America's version of Mao's Little Red Book, encouraging children to sell out their parents? This reminds me of like the dystopian film, or 1984, where they use children to report on their parents, or Equilibrium, where they train children to find people committing emotion crime. It really is a sort of dystopia. Now here's a good post, and I really want to go through this because I believe it completely and utterly describes the phenomena you're seeing. You think? The social programming they employ involves self-policing. Why would you use your real name to be a realist on Facebook? Would you say that you dislike immigrants to your HR department at work? They are forcing political correctness as a taboo, even though most don't agree with it. They are indoctrinating kids in university to become more police and activists. They want people who are not PC to feel alone and isolated, like they are a minority. The media, both social and MSN, are filled with these activists. Normies don't agree with political correctness, but they don't speak out for an easy life. Unless they speak out and wake up, they are doomed. The only way a multicultural society can work is with thought policing, and they know it. That's why they are pushing identity politics so hard. They also push mixing, so in a few generations, we will become homogeneous. No need for the PC stuff when we are all the same. We will be a society of workers and consumers, ruled over by a pure-blood, inbred elite class, consisting of royalty and oligarchs of business. None of our leaders care, because they have all been bought off or blackmailed. Big business and old money is behind this, and they are turning us into eternal slaves. They are destroying humanity for greed and power. Now, whether or not you believe Anonymous's opinion, you have to admit, there is certainly something strange when birth rate replacement level is low, and the government is saying, well, we need to get a bunch of people, foreigners, to come to our countries, regardless of the law, perhaps with the law, but to come regardless to help boost the population rate. Democrats really love this policy because, generally speaking, certain demographic groups tend to vote for them. So really, they just want more voters. There's a direct conflict of interest. And you have to ask yourself, is mass immigration really the best thing for the country? I would argue no. I would argue that the best thing for the country is to let the labor repair itself, to let the country repair itself, and to help Americans first. Now, there's a little comic here that I think is really funny and absolutely sums up the sentiment of what's really happening here. This comic, this comedy satire comic, pretty much describes what is happening. Here you see two different people, and there's a border between them. The lady on the right says, "Hey, my country is not a shithole. Please let me in." It's pretty self-explanatory, but this is essentially the case. You have a bunch of people coming to America, saying America's horrible, or they just, they puff up the crowd and say America's number one, that's why I came here. But either way, you came here because your country just wasn't as prosperous or didn't offer you enough opportunity. That's the real truth, because there's a lot of people who try to come to America, so-called refugee caravans or migrant caravans, and they get offered asylum in Mexico, but they refuse to take it because they don't want asylum. They want the American dream, the glory that is America. And then they shit all over America when they get here. That is the problem. So many people are complaining about America every single day and how horrible America is. It's annoying. It's tiresome. You don't have to live here. Nobody has to live here. In fact, the way the economy is, I don't think that America actually needs more people. It just makes more competition, less resources to go around. Unfortunately, life is a zero-sum game. That's just how it is. I mean, we gotta live in the real world. But the saddest part of this story is how a son sold out his father. Now, hacker 4chan seems to love this guy. Here, Anonymous asks, how can one man be so based? Now, all this guy did was exercise his freedom of speech. He didn't really say anything wrong. It was shocking to those people because, well, they're just not used to a man exercising freedom of speech or wrongthink. Here you can see Anonymous says, that feel when he needs to leave. Just like a video game. But you know what, my friends, that's pretty much the story. This is a world that the leftists have created. A world where the children sell out their parents. Just like in communism or an Orwellian dystopia. But that's merely the obvious. Well, that's all for now, folks. What do you think about this story? What do you think about this man's son turning on him? And what do you think about CNN trying to get people canceled? Because that's what this is about. CNN is trying to cancel people. Children are being taught to turn against their parents. It's a horrible time in America. Be sure to let me know what you think. Now, as always, if you want to support the content that I make, you can join me on Patreon or Subscribestar for as low as $1. And trust me, your support is appreciated. I've noticed such a huge wave of demonetization all over YouTube on all of my videos. It's honestly ridiculous. I don't even know what the point is anymore. Everything is, I don't know where the ads are going, but they're not going to me. So if you want to join, you can join. If you do, you get access to Fight Club. Low as $1, up to you. You know, really, whatever works for you. You can donate through Bitcoin, and sharing the video is also appreciated if you think it's worth sharing. Honestly, these are sad times. As always, thanks for watching. This has been Mr. Obvious, and I'll see you all next time.